tutorial covers qualitative analysis and some tips for locating appropriate images, graphs, and charts for your essay. Let's start with a few examples to walk you through the process. Does this image have anything to do with having tea and the experience of having tea? No, it's a logo. And remember that if you do include a logo, there will be a point deduction. Logos do not express anything. A logo is simply that. So let's look at another image and see if that expresses having tea at the Savoy. Does this image express the emotion of having tea at the Savoy? No, it's a cartoon, and we are writing a sophisticated essay for a sophisticated reading audience, and cartoons are not appropriate. And if you do use a cartoon image, there will be point deductions for that. So we want to keep in mind who the reader is and what we're trying to communicate, which in this case is the experience of having tea at the Savoy. So let's try another image. Does this look like having tea at the Savoy? Well, it kind of does, since this is the Savoy. But it's sort of a stagnant picture. Nobody's having tea. We see people kind of setting things up, but no one's having tea. So it's at least in the ballpark. Let's look at one last image. This image captures the experience of having tea at the Savoy. These people are actually having tea, and so the reader sees what the writer wants the writer to see. Okay? Okay, let's move on to a more serious topic. If you look in the examples folder, you will find an essay entitled Building What? That essay has to do with an investigation and persuasive, biased allegation about the events that took place on 9/11 as they pertain specifically to Building 7. So let's look at some images that we might want to include that enhance the writer's thesis, which is to say that all of the theories that have been presented about why Building 7 collapsed, even though it was not hit by a plane or attacked in any way, that's what the essay involves. So let's look at some of those images. If I were to insert this image into the essay, would that be effective? No, because first, it's low resolution, it's blurry, the reader can't even read it, and the writer is asking the reader to stop reading the essay and try to make sense out of this complex, complicated image. So we want to make sure that the images that are included say what the writer wants to say in images that are clear, pop, sharp, and easy to understand. So let's look instead at this image. As you can see, this image is clear. It represents what the writer wants the reader to see, and that is the location of Building 7 in proximity to the other buildings that were affected on 9/11. Do you see the difference between a clear, crisp, simple graph and one that is so complicated that the reader would not be persuaded by the essay because the reader is going to be frustrated by trying to understand what the images included mean. So this blurry image wants to show the reader the demolition around Building 7. Let's look at an image that might be better. Do you see how much more effective this image is? Rather than reducing the event to a blurred graph, this image points the reader in the right direction and shows the destruction around. So this would be a more effective image. And the writer has photoshopped in an arrow, so the reader does not have to pause for long to see what this is about. Larry A. Silverstein owned Building 7 and collected billions of dollars of insurance money when that building collapsed. So we could find a number of images of Larry A. Silverstein to show to the reader. There's one particular image of him that, in a persuasive essay, demonstrates the theme, and it would be this one. Okay, so I opened that in a new window, and that gives me the URL for this. I'm going to copy that URL, and I'm going to go over to EasyBib, and I'm going to go ahead and cite this image because I believe I'm going to use this as my title image maybe. So let's go over to EasyBib together. I'm going to paste that URL into this box. That's the Larry Silverstein image. I'm going to cite it, and it's gathering information. Then it brought up the boxes for me to fill out any information that I could. I know it came from an article in a website called The Realist Report, and the article title was him. I don't know the rest of it, and so I filled in whatever I could, and now I'm going to create the citation. Again, I fill in any boxes that I can, and there is the citation. So I have cited my image. Let's move on to another example and a little bit more lighthearted topic, and that is the cause and effect essay. If you look at the outlines that I have shown you in the outlining tab, you will find that I did a sample outline of cause and effect that includes the causes, the cause, which was the release of the 1976 film Rocky, and the effects that that film had on independent filmmakers and a renewed interest in trying to get independent films made, the impact that that film had on tourism to Philadelphia, and the effect that film had on the rise of a declining sport of boxing. So that's the three areas that I was looking at. Now, if you were writing that essay or any other essay, you would determine which three factors you wanted to explore. But let's look at some images that we want to select for our essay about Rocky. It just makes you want to sing the song, doesn't it? Now, the important thing here is that I claimed in my essay that Rocky was a sensation, that it broke box office charts, that it was $1 million film to make and has grossed well over $226 million, and probably much, much more that is not shown because it continues to make money each year. Now, I have to prove that. Somebody in an argument essay is over my shoulder saying, I don't think it was really all that successful, so I have to prove it was successful. So now I want to find an image that in 1,000 words says how successful the film was. Since I've decided that I want my pictures for this entire essay to be in color, then I'm not going to choose this one because this one it's black and white. I have a choice of this one. This shows the awards that were won. That's a symbol of achievement. This one contains a lot of words down here that I don't want the reader to have to read. I just want them to pop in, see the point, and agree that it was a popular and successful film. So that's how I'm going to pick an image for that section of the essay, which is the definition phase that proves what I'm saying to be true. Now I'm going to pick some action shots from Rocky, and let's see, I'm going to find one. I'll be right back. In the definition section, I'm going to need to briefly explain to the reader what the story of the film was, because I have to assume that the reader maybe has heard the title but did not necessarily see the film. So I'm going to select an image, and since one of the points that I'm making is the effect that the film had on boxing, I want to include one of these boxing pictures. This one is not from Rocky, so I can't use that. This one is from Rocky, and I might want to use that. This I can't use because it's a meme, and we cannot use any kind of memes, but I'm going to select one from here. I wasn't able to find a graph or a chart that showed the profits and again proved the success of the film for that section of the essay where I needed to prove that. But I can make a chart and graph of my own. I know how to do that, and you probably do too. I went to IMDb Pro and I looked up the film, and now I'm going to go to the box office. That's going to show me the profits, and here are the numbers that I need to pop into a graph or a chart to show the profits. So the film was made for $960,000. That's just under $1 million. And these were the gross profits, and you can see what those tally to be, and that's just up to 1976. So I can show that, and that's enough to show and prove that the film was profitable and successful, not only in the United States but worldwide. Yes? Okay, let's move on to a new topic. This isn't one of the topics we're working on, so we're free to take a look at this as an example. Of course, you wouldn't use it yourself, but let's say that I want to write a persuasive essay in first person, my own experience, and my goal is to inspire, not tell, but inspire the reader to rescue a dog. Okay, let's look at some images that will help me with this. Now, I've decided that I want to keep a positive tone about this. People are more motivated by happiness than they are by guilt. Guilt sells, and people like to advertise with a lot of guilt and horror messages, and people do respond to dark tone in time, but immediate results are shown happiness to be the most effective persuader. Let's look at what kind of an image we want to select for our cover image for a rescue dog. Would this image work? No, it's a cute image, but I'm not sure this is a dog. And this isn't a dog being rescued from anything. So that image really would not work anywhere in the essay because there's nothing happening other than an adorable dog. And let's look at another image and see if that would work. Because I am securing my tone, I typed into Google, happy rescued dogs, and then I clicked images, and I see some that would work. This is fantastic. This one's okay, but I can't see the little girl. I don't know if she's crying or happy. This one is a person who just rescued a dog. You can see by the collar and the tags. I'm going to save that to my image folder. I'm going to go ahead and cite it and save it to my image folders because I'm pretty sure I'm going to use this somewhere in the essay. I refined my search one more time to happy people with rescued dogs. Let's see what we find there. I love this image because this shows happy people having rescued a dog. You can see the kennel in the background, though it's not prominent, and you see the happy people, you see the happy dog. So that's an example of that. One more thing I'm going to need to include in this is to show graphs and charts to indicate the positive results of efforts to rescue dogs. That's not easy to find because a lot of the charts and graphs want to show the horrible side of things, but I found one, so let's look at it together. Look at this graph that I found. This is simple. It shows the good news. It shows that that this outfit is really making a difference. And of course I'm going to cite this. This is a Humane Society. I'm going to copy that URL. I'm going to pop it in here, cite it. I'll go back and look up any information that I can find about what the particular article was from that and so forth. Create the citation. And created the citation. So that concludes our Cook's tour of qualitative analysis. You may learn more about this by visiting your textbook and studying that information, and you can research more information. To review very quickly, let's go over those rules of thumb. Use only high-resolution images. Do not use cartoons. Use simple graphs that are easy to comprehend. Photoshop arrows into photos or graphs if necessary to show the reader exactly what you want them to see. Sometimes maps with arrows are effective ways to establish the definition of a topic. If it's a location or something, be sure the map is clear, high quality, not one of those maps with a million words on there. Just make it simple. Remember, the reader just needs to see what you want them to see or feel what you'd like for them to feel. Never use a logo. In the future, you may want to do that for some essay outside of this course, but for this essay in this course, never use a logo. And there will be point deductions for that if you do. Remember that the tone of your essay needs to be expressed in the images, graphs, and charts. Place images, graphs, and charts in key areas of the essay. You don't want them all jumbled up in one place. You want them to spread out. When you finish writing your essay, you can do the view option and see all the pages on little thumbnails, and you can see where the images are and kind of spread those out so that they are in key points to make clear what you are discussing, but they are spread throughout the essay. Image should all be basically the same size, color scheme, and the images should inspire the reader to explore the essay. Never select a title image that includes words.